In the middle of the apocalypse, now she's all emotional, and he's blushing as he pulls her into a hug, while Shizuya smiles faintly in the background. The blue-haired oddball thanks everyone for making it out alive. Seeing that, Shizuya thinks maybe this isn't the end of humanity. Maybe there's still a chance to win. That optimism changes 30 minutes later when a massive creature appears with its foot covered in blood. In the next chapter, a long-haired man flat-out refuses to take part in any of this. He says he's not leaving this place and only came into the cave because everyone knew it was safer here. The soldiers are desperate for help, but no one is willing to step up. The black-haired woman says they need to get out of there because the creatures aren't going to stop coming. It's only a matter of time before everyone dies. Shizuya steps in and confirms it, saying they'll be back soon, and worse, they'll be stronger than before. The long-haired man replies that they might as well all die right now, since those things will never stop coming. Then just as quickly, he questions why they should trust someone who has powers that look exactly like those of the monsters. Ishijo tells him to shut his mouth, pointing out that he's criticizing the one person who saved his life. If he wants to stay here, then fine, let him die like a stray dog. The soldiers tell everyone to calm down and say that anyone who wants to leave should follow them, while the rest can stay inside and wait for backup. The long-haired man scoffs, saying there's no way anyone will go. Everyone's seen how dangerous it is out there. But then the little blonde girl, all cute and timid, says she's going with the soldiers. Strangely, that seems to inspire the rest of the group, who decide it's better to follow her than stay here, especially since the monsters will return. Obviously, seeing everyone leave, the long-haired guy says he'll have to go too to protect them. Everyone gathers what little they have, and 5 minutes later, they're on the move. On the way, Ichijo asks the protagonist how he knew the monsters would revive when this is the first time anything like this has happened. He answers casually, saying it was just correlation, though in truth, he's thinking about two massive problems. First, if these monsters are just like players, they'll keep gaining stats and getting stronger through new equipment. Second, and worse, they'll revive infinitely until he finds a way to stop it. On the other hand, the creatures only need to kill them once, just like a player only needs to clear a dungeon one time. In theory, this is a system designed to make sure they never have a real chance to win. A soldier then remarks that Shizuya is awfully calm. That would be normal if he were a soldier too, but he's not. Even this soldier, who's trained countless times, has trembling hands because he's completely drained both physically and mentally. The protagonist asks, why are you pushing yourself so hard? Well, because if he doesn't, he'll die. What other reason is there? Shizuya tells him he should abandon everyone else. His chances of surviving with just that woman would be much higher than trying to protect all these people. The soldier agrees but says he has no intention of doing that. Suddenly, they come across the national crest, where the old emblem used to be. They're sure something is approaching. The soldier tells Shizuya that if it comes down to just the two of them, he should take the girl and run. Hearing this, Ichijo asks about Kotana, the blonde girl from earlier. The man explains that she's now always with Akina. As tough as Akina is as an officer, she can't resist the little girl. Apparently, Akina had an illness when she was younger that left her unable to have children. And just like that, the story takes a full 360 in emotional tone. But his heartfelt talk is suddenly interrupted by an arrow from nowhere. Shizuya is about to tell everyone to be careful when blood splashes across his face. Everyone turns, and they all freeze. The blonde girl has been struck right in the chest. She collapses to the ground, lifeless. The woman who's close to her screams Kotana and tries to rush forward. Everyone else runs after her, telling her to calm down. They all remember that the enemy archer was skilled enough that there's no way he missed his intended target and accidentally hit a child, so the shot must have been for another purpose. The soldier woman fires a round into the archer's back, shouting that she's going to kill the bastard who murdered the child. Another man tries to pull her away, and Shizuya yells for them to leave, but in that instant, they're crushed. Shizuya wonders how he could have possibly forgotten this. Stee golems, these were once allies of the player's faction in this world. In theory, they acted as guardians at dungeon entrances, stopping enemies from escaping through the gates. But now that they're no longer on the player's side, these things have become their enemies. And then the golem lifts its foot and the people below are reduced to paste. One of the monsters moves in, absorbs what's left, and even receives the title Conqueror of the Hidden Cave. Shizuya can't believe these bastards actually get dungeon rewards for killing them. To these monsters, humans are nothing but nameless creatures. They probably think that all the hatred, emotions, and everything else humans feel is nothing more than some scripted game design. Since that's how it is, Shizuya activates omnipotence and omniscience. The system warns him that he'll now be hunted by 2 players for 7 days. He keeps activating more and more abilities, and now it's 4 players who will be after him. He starts detecting loot scattered around, as well as defensive skills from the Guardian class. The enemy archer looks like he's about to act, but in the next second, Shizuya hurls a fireball. Since he's holding gear from multiple classes, he can apparently use magic as well, and the archer is ripped in half. Shizuya demands to know if this bastard understands the feelings of those who were left behind. He keeps scanning and picks up a flood of memories, along with the items from the 2 people who were crushed earlier. It all seems to be getting absorbed. As the others are leaving the cave, someone asks what that thing was, obviously referring to the giant golem. Then the ring from earlier appears in Shizuya's hand. He says he'll carry on Akina and Takuto's will. Whatever mission they had, he'll take it up himself. Watching the golem's attack, he notes that the monster is level 40 and has 50% damage reduction. Its intelligence is low, but it's violently aggressive, and charging head-on would be suicide. He sidesteps one of its attacks and activates rapid fire, unloading a barrage right into its face. But when the smoke clears, the thing is completely unharmed, and it fires a laser at him. He dodges again, but the golem keeps unleashing attacks everywhere. Since Shizuya killed those enemy players earlier, he can now summon his shield, but it doesn't help much. It gets shattered instantly, and he's sent flying. Ishijo shouts for him to be careful, while he wonders why the evacuation is taking so long. To make matters worse, the golem is winding up for a crushing blow, and he has no time to heal or dodge. Ishijo steps forward, yelling for everyone to get back, and then trips, falling flat. But instead of attacking, the golem suddenly stops and turns away. Shizuya can't figure out why. Normally, these monsters only protect players. Either way, he can't rest. He heals himself, saying he needs to protect the Outakus. He leaps onto the golem's hand and starts climbing its arm. Even the strongest creatures have to have a weakness. Once he reaches its back, he drives his strike into the middle of its spine. The golem swings a massive hand toward him, but he rolls, takes a step, and what is that? Light bursts from all over, and the monster goes berserk. For a moment, it looks like Shizuya blew it up, but no, it's a skill that sweeps across the entire forest from afar. Speaking of afar, there's a knight watching all of this unfold. And do we get to see what happens next? No, we're suddenly in a helicopter with someone reporting that it's been 72 hours since the shadow invasion began. A soldier steps on a creature and says it's already dead. Another covers his face, suggesting it might have been enemy self-destruction. But the girl with the massive hammer says that's impossible. No one would push those monsters this hard except for those two. The green-haired man starts to say something, but then he glances back, sensing a presence. A towering knight is approaching. The woman seems intrigued, saying it's always exciting to see an elite monster. He looks strong, definitely good entertainment. Her companion apologizes to the creature, saying that once Satsuki gets excited, it's hard to stop her. She's already leaping in with a swing of her axe just as an arrow is fired. The monster reacts instantly, and in the very next moment she's down on the ground, while its blade is pressed against her companion's neck. He's stunned. This monster is nothing like anything they've fought before. But then the creature notices something and turns its gaze toward the city. An explosion is erupting there. Satsuki shouts at it to stop underestimating her and goes for the final strike. Her friend comments that maybe the monster has found a more interesting target. Meanwhile, the protagonist opens his eyes in what looks like a baby's room. There are teddy bears, shelves, and everything's cute and cozy. He gets up, confused, and then notices his hand is entirely metal. He wonders if Omnipotence somehow rebuilt his body using one of the golem's abilities. Checking his status window, he sees he really did acquire the golem's skills. One of them allows him to enter a revenge state when something nearby dies, granting him more power. He decides to get up immediately. After all, the most important thing is figuring out how he ended up here. Suddenly, the smell of food drifts in along with a horribly off-key singing voice, so bad he wants to cover his ears. And the only thing this strange girl seems to know how to cook is eggs. She tells him to wait a second, breakfast will be ready soon. He can't understand why she's living like it's a peaceful life. All it takes is opening the window to see everything outside being destroyed. From the look of it, she's probably a player from the monster's world. After all, when she fell in front of him earlier, she had that green ally marker over her head. She finishes making toast and he says it's delicious, but he won't eat it. She laughs and tells him to stop lying. She knows it tastes awful, even she didn't like it. Luckily, she's stocked up on enough cup noodles to last a week. He asks how he got here, and she says it's obvious. When he passed out, she had to get a cart, drag him up the stairs, and bring him home. Finally, Shizuya states the obvious. He feels there's something off about her. He can't sense even a grain of anxiety from her body. It's almost as if she's not even slightly concerned about being killed. She admits as much, saying she's already tried. But for some reason, the monsters just don't attack her. Everything around was destroyed, everyone dead and being absorbed, yet she seemed invisible to them. She even threw a rock to get one's attention, but it ignored her completely. He guesses it might be some kind of special power, maybe something like his own hand. He asks if she can see a floating status window, and she says no. Then, out of nowhere, he decides to reveal everything, drawing his weapons and explaining that he believes his powers are connected to a game called Azure Land. He gives her a brief explanation of the game, but she says she doesn't understand a thing. What she does know is that her ability is amazing, since it's very unlikely she'll die. Shizuya ignores that answer, thinking instead about the real problem. Humanity has almost no chance of surviving. He says that he'll need to head to the city of Rinkai, and then to a place called Kaijo. He has some important allies there and needs to ensure their safety. She glances at him and says that in that case, she'll go with him. He says it's a good idea that if she stays alone, her chances of survival will be much higher than if she comes with him. But she collapses onto the table, saying yes, she can do anything, but at the same time, she doesn't know what she actually wants to do. Besides, he doesn't seem like the type to die easily. In the middle of all this tension, they suddenly hear a strange sound coming from the door. as if someone outside is trying to break the lock. Instead of getting ready to fight, the airhead heads to the bedroom like they're about to play hide and seek. Shizuya takes the milk inside, wraps a bandage around his arm, and goes to open the door, only to find 3 people standing there. He asks who they are. The guy in the cap apologizes, saying he didn't know anyone was inside. Shizuya tells him it's fine. He understands they're probably just trying to survive, but it's obvious the guy is hiding a small weapon behind his back. Then the blonde one steps forward, saying they've been running from monsters and finally found someone. They need help, it's raining outside, and there are creatures everywhere. Shizuya, keeping a confident tone, tells them not to hesitate and to make themselves at home. They ask if they can come in, and he says he'll get them some drinks. From the bedroom, Ichijo hears one of them saying they're going to the bathroom. As soon as Shizuya serves the drinks, the blonde comments on his arm. Shizuya explains that he fell while running from the monsters, and that he's in rough shape, especially in a world like this. The guy in the cap remarks that it must be tough living alone, especially with so many supplies. Shizuya says he's a prepared guy. He never thought buying so much instant ramen would pay off like this. Then he asks what their plan is in this crazy world. The man in the cap says they're looking for a safe place full of supplies, exactly like Shizuya's home. Shizuya replies that unfortunately, 4 people in that small room would be way too cramped. The man agrees and then says that 1 fewer person would make it perfect. That's when he realizes he's made a mistake. Shizuya's arm transforms and the piece of steel in front of him is ripped apart like paper. Another one of them tries to pull a gun, but Ichijo delivers a swift kick. One more tries to come at Shizuya from behind, but gets a blade to the neck, leaving them gasping for air. The blonde bastard even has the nerve to ask if Shizuya let them in just to set up an ambush. Shizuya simply says they were unlucky, that he's a monster now. He crushes the man's drill weapon and tells him that, unfortunately, they'll have to pay the price for coming in here. But then, someone orders him to stop. When he looks back, it's obvious. The threat is meaningless. Now there's a knife at Ichijo's neck, and the other attacker warns that if he moves, she dies. Shizuya realizes he was foolish to think she'd be safe just because monsters don't attack her. That made him forget about the most dangerous creature when the world collapses. The monster gnome is a human. As he stands there radiating killing intent, the woman holding Ichijo was trembling. They'd heard noises here and thought they'd find something valuable, never expecting to run into someone with a transformed arm. Shizuya decides to pretend to negotiate for now, suggesting they exchange hostages. The woman refuses, saying they'll be taking the hostage and 3 boxes of supplies. But before she can finish speaking, something pierces straight through her chest. Shizuya immediately pulls Ichijo away, telling her to get clear. At first, it looks like a perfectly calculated attack from him minus 200 IQ, but no, it's actually a level 41 noble, and the woman is literally sliced apart. In Azure Land, whenever a monster, creature, or anything is killed, it drops its items and enters a state of hatred. In this mode, if it gets revenge, it regains everything it lost. So, could this thing be the golem? What is this monster doing here? Regardless, Shizuya is telling Ichijo to get back, even though she's supposedly immortal. As the blonde is reduced to jelly, the knight charges straight at Shizuya. Honestly, I thought he was going to dodge or pull off some quick move, but instead, he just raised his shield and got sent flying out of the building. Even midair, the monster was already following up with another attack. He activates Quick Mana to form a weapon in his hand and fires a few shots, but the monster dodges. Shizuya lands, slides, and as the creature comes in from behind, he rushes into the building ahead, running up the stairs. That one block he managed earlier had done far more damage to him than he expected. On the second floor, he stops briefly to heal at least a little. He's fusing items, skills, and everything he's picked up so far, but he's still nowhere near ready to take on an elite-level monster head-on. The creature starts up the stairs, its body surrounded by a heavy aura. Shizuya fires again, activating his weapon, but the monster ignores the shots completely and keeps climbing at a steady pace. Then a precise shot comes in. Where the monster moves to defend against it, Shizuya appears behind and lands a clean hit, but nothing happens. He nearly gets caught in the counterattack, but at least he's good at evading and escaping. He backs off, firing as he retreats. He's exploiting something from the game. Maps are all designed in 2B logic, meaning if he's on a higher floor, the monster never knows for sure whether he's above or below. It just knows he's nearby. The monster keeps climbing until it steps into a puddle of gasoline. Shizuya appears again and hurls a fireball. Credit where it's due, he's trying everything he can. 3 floors go up in flames from the explosion, and he keeps shooting. But even after all that, the monster just keeps walking forward calmly. It's because it's being sustained by a healing ability. Outside, its partner is supporting it. Shizuya keeps climbing and shooting. At least this monster's slow, like a turtle. He realizes that the day he survived the train fight was pure luck, thanks to knowing the enemy's skills. He'd overestimated himself, thinking he could face this thing directly. Then he notices lighting in the sky and seems to get an idea. He runs for a door while outside, Ichijo is holding a tiny knife, clearly thinking she can help somehow. From the noise inside the building, she knows Shizuya is in there. That's where she spots a strange monster nearby with green energy streaming off it. She guesses it might be influencing the fight somehow. But what can she do? She sees a car parked close, jumps in, grips the steering wheel, shifts gears, locks eyes on the target, and floors it. Since the little creature is technically a player, in theory, it's about to get sent to another world. Meanwhile, on the rooftop, Shizuya is standing his ground, waiting for the boss, who appears, now with an even bigger buff. He sighs, saying that unfortunately, he's surrounded. The boss charges. Shizuya calls it forward, saying he's ready, but strangely, something else seems to be aiming at the monster, and at him too. Damn, it's another creature lining up a shot with the bow. Then finally, another player appears. It's Setsuki, asking who the hell the archer thinks they're aiming at before slamming her weapon down on its head. The bow goes flying, but the creature's still fine. These monsters can take absurd amounts of damage. Satsuki challenges it to a duel. If it could take the first hit, it would have to take the second. But the monster dodges and leaps off the building, firing grappling hooks to swing to another one, pulling a full-on Batman escape. She curses after it, saying it has no fighting spirit, and complains that she's jealous of the much cooler battle going on at the other building. That fight is definitely one-sided. Shizuya is mostly dodging and trying to land occasional hits. Oh, spoke too soon. He manages to stab it, but of course it's healed instantly. It's all thanks to an overpowered skill known as Saint's Breath. It creates a connection between the caster and the target, and until that link is broken, the monster can't be killed. And with no time to rest, the monster comes at him again. Shizuya knows that as long as the healer is still standing, there's no way to win. But just as the creature is about to deliver a downward strike, he notices that the connection seems to have been broken. Looking down, he sees the priest slumped over. Someone had rammed into him with a car. It was Ichijo, scratching her head after leaving the monster completely thrown off. Even better, she realized the creature had no interest in attacking her. If that's the case, she's going to hit the gas again. But right then, an arrow whizzes past her and slams into the monster's chest. When she looks back, it's that hunter from before, impressed that a civilian decided to fight. Still, he warns her not to get too involved or she'll end up dead. Meanwhile, on the top floor, the protagonist steps back, dodges another attack, but the monster doesn't let up. It leaps in again, forcing him to move forward to avoid the lion strike. This opponent isn't stupid, though. He tries the same maneuver he used earlier, only to take a crushing stomp to the spine, stumbling hard. He almost falls off the roof entirely. Even though he's already realized how fast these things adapt, it still shocks him. Unlike in a game where nothing changes, the longer humanity takes to finish these enemies, the harder they'll be to defeat. Here comes the monster for another attack, but Shizuya says he knows there's a chance to win. Right then, lightning finally strikes the top of the building, hitting the creature dead on and leaving it smoking. The noble is paralyzed and on the verge of death. Its sword drops to the ground as it collapses face first onto the asphalt. Shizuya remarks that it's a shame the creature doesn't understand how stages work. This time it lost because of the world's rules it didn't know about. Did he use some secret technique or a special game ability? No, it was pure science. The metal, at the highest point in the city, had attracted the lightning. He walks up and admits this wasn't some genius plan. He just got lucky the enemy was made of metal, the building was the tallest around, and then it happened to be raining. But the life of a player is like that. You take the risks and grab the rewards. A sword through the ribs finishes it. The level 41 noble is dead, and unlike the others, its body strangely doesn't vanish. The scene cuts to someone asking if that's not enough already. Cracks begin to form nearby, and she tells whoever's hiding to come out if they're so eager to kill humans. The wall explodes. It's Satsuki, hunting down her target, yelling that he should stop running. But right then, an arrow comes straight for her face and she barely dodges. She yells at him to stop with the traps. The archer is already retreating, setting up his next move. Then she gets a call from the green-haired man. He says the creature he was with is strangely retreating, as if it receives some kind of order. On top of that, he's just been ordered by their leader to regroup everyone. He'd wanted to kill that creature, but orders are absolute. Ichijo notices these people are using some kind of special power, but it seems very different from what Shizuya uses. And from the way they're talking, it sounds like they have a team or an organization of some sort. Still, what's more important right now is finding out how the protagonist is doing. She heads toward the building entrance, while a strange red bird watches her. The next chapter opens with an update. It's been 102 hours since the shadow invasion began. Helicopters approach on a rescue mission, but they've already been told they won't be able to save everyone there. One of the soldiers spots movement on top of a building and moves closer. When they land, there he is, our boy and his exhausted companion. Ichijo steps in full of energy, but the soldier remarks that they're not the man and woman he thought they'd be. The protagonist says he knows the guy is looking for someone named Okamoto Takuto and Kumoto Akina. I skim ahead trying to figure out what that's about, but I guess it's going to be revealed later. He explains that those two had gone to rescue some refugees and fought alongside him. He got that information through a radio message. The pilot nods, saying that since yesterday there hasn't been a single piece of good news. They need to drop the two off somewhere safe soon, since there's a mission nearby they have to handle. Shizuya asks what mission, and the man says it's not classified so he can tell him. As Shizuya probably suspects, the city of Keijo is on the front lines in the war against the shadows. Shizuya finds it odd that this guy is calling the monsters shadows, which is exactly the name they have in his system. Maybe someone else has access to the same kind of information